I don't think Twitter is gonna like ever grow or like be anything more than what it is, right? It's just like Twitter is the armpit of the internet and it will always be the armpit of the internet. And like nobody's gonna like all of a sudden be convinced, you
Right.
know? And like the next generation of people, it's not like they're really gonna be interested in Twitter unless they're interested in,
I don't
finding
see
the armpit of
Gen
the
Z
internet.
simply piling on Twitter and being like, "This is my platform."
Yeah, it's like a very, I don't know, faux intellectual, like journalist, thought leader, it's interesting the type of people that use Twitter and try to be, good at it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You got to
It's
be
also
controversial.
yeah,
I'm
it's
not.
also frustrating to me because people will make like. I was looking at one guy's tweet this morning, and it was like 18 different tweets, all kind of in a row. It's like part one of 18, part two of 18. It's like, whoa.
Fuck that.
But yeah,
Write a blog post or some shit.
exactly. It's like this is just not a platform for saying stuff.
Yeah, it's more for just talking shit. But
Yeah.
anyway, everybody, thanks for coming and listening to our podcast.
Renting.
Rambling.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not really like a podcast. I
No,
don't want it to be a podcast, because like I don't like podcasts, and the world
Whatever.
doesn't need another podcast, right?
that
There's
doesn't
plenty
mean
of
we're not. Yeah,
podcasts in the world.
I know, it's true.
More
Everyone
like
has a podcast.
a video streaming. But anyway, our title today is "Scientists Are Destroying Science." Can you hear us? I can't hear you because you're not speaking. Can I see
we
what
can read
you
your comment though. Yeah, we do see it.
type?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? I mean, I imagine you can. I don't know. If you can't hear us, sorry, tough luck.
I saw some people last time were commenting on how they were confused about the
Comments?
comments. Just because like
Yeah,
consolidating comments from a lot of different social medias and
yeah.
platforms.
So we use this website called Restream, which allows you to stream to multiple websites at the same time. And so, like, we're streaming to like all of our individual YouTubes and Facebooks and other stuffs. So like, you won't get to see all of the chat. We can put the chat on the screen, but then it like makes everything super small. Instead, we usually highlight individual comments that people make, so the live stream isn't bombarded with sometimes annoying chat messages.
Yeah, and
Not that
sometimes
any of
not.
you are annoying; it's the other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always the other guy.
What a
What a
headline.
headline!
Yeah, so I published an article this morning on my Substack with the same title, and I think it's a really interesting premise. It's just that like science itself is like it's not the best thing we have at all. Nobody's tried to make like the best science.
Right.
It's definitely um, it's definitely suboptimal. We're not optimizing for people doing the best science, but it's corrupted, of course, by human beings. And I think one of the issues is that the institution has been around just for so long that it's become so corrupted that you can't change it anymore. The only way to like change science is to tear down the system and create something new. And that is, of course, like biohacking. Um, that's kind of the thesis of what I wrote. And obviously, there's, a lot of reasons how scientists are destroying science. And big one is publishing. I think. I think publishing is like the core root problem of all of science. Like if you remove publishing, science would have to change so much. Because like publishing is the basis for like getting jobs, getting grants, like proving your worth as a scientist that has no scientific basis.
Yeah.
And so, like,
And it's a
to
terrible
me,
medium for communication.
yeah, for me, like, if publishing is like one of the main root problems of science and just transparency, also, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also like, how do you create public trust if all of your work is locked away behind paywalls and all this sort of stuff? And so all the people saying you're a scam artist are saying it for free and easily available and digestible and well put together format, and you trying to say, hey, no, read the paper. I mean, pay $352 a year, but read the paper.
Yeah, right. Seriously. But yeah, no, it's, yeah. And so I just wrote something about that, that it's like that system is like a failing system, I think. And there's not much we can do anymore to, you know, make that system better. And like, don't become a scientist, Maybe that's
Do better science. Yeah.
do better science.
Yeah, and I think that's something I saw on Twitter the other day. Somebody was asking, like, how do you what's the best way? I've got some students who want to contribute to science communication. What's the best way they can contribute to science communication?
I hate the term science communication. It's so annoying.
It is pretty cringy.
Because
like,
wait, like there's no like other like communication. There's not like computer communication or like any other industry in the world doesn't have like a whole thing dedicated to communication, except science, because like people are too dumb to like understand it.
Yeah.
You are not too dumb, so you are the one who's going to help the dumb people know science.
It's pretty much exactly how it's packaged. It's either like you're either trying not to say, well, I need to dumb it down for y'all, or propaganda. So you have to say science communication.
Yeah, science communication. It's I dislike that term because especially and like the people who usually do it, it's not like they're super skilled at communicating or anything usually.
Yeah. It's also like,
if science communication would work, we would live in such a better world.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, talk to people in places they can actually get it, like make videos about your work instead of publishing that shit in Cell and Nature.
Yeah, right? That's like science communication. It's just like make science available so people can read it. How are publications a problem? Didn't get it. I don't know if it's a serious question or not, or you just don't understand.
It might just be that they missed the front part of the video.
The scientific publication process in general. I mean, okay, so let's start from the beginning. Let's assume nobody understands how scientific publishing works. So generally in science, you do your experiments, you write up a paper, you format the paper in a way that the journal requests, you submit it to the journal sends off the paper to reviewers who work for free. These are other scientists. These reviewers decide whether the paper should be published or not. The paper is published, then the publishing company charges you, usually nowadays somewhere around $5,000, but can be upwards of $10,000, to take this paper that you formatted and wrote and literally host it on a website. That's it. That's the only job they do. And they email your paper to the reviewers. That's the only job these publication companies do. So like 90% of papers are behind paywalls. That means that you have to pay to access these papers, right? Now, everything is based off of publishing, but publishing also isn't like double blind, right? So if you're a reviewer, you can see who published the paper. So if it's a friend of yours, they're in the same field, you can accept the paper and just be like, that's fine. It's a good paper, right? publishing is the basis for everything. It's the basis for grants. It's the basis for faculty jobs. It's the basis for tenure. It's the basis for basically everything in science. But it's so corrupted because, like there's like the politics and everything that go into publishing.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you publish in, a prestigious journal versus a non-prestigious journal, like that matters. Not the science. Nobody's sitting there and being like, this science is great. No. And like plenty of Nobel Prize winners, the work that they did wasn't published in prestigious journals, right? So there's not necessarily like an exact correlation between publishing in good journals and good science. So how do you measure good science, I think is the question. Is there a way? And is good science measured by where you publish your papers? Because that seems like a very shitty measure of good science, right?
Yeah, it's just an appeal to authority at that point.
And it's a system that feeds into itself, right? Like if you get a job at Harvard, then you get grants, then you publish papers, you have money to compete. So you publish papers in journals that are more fancy because you can just do more work, right? You can use more fancy equipment. And so those papers are considered, cutting edge or like better science, even though most of them, go off into the abyss. You'll never hear about them again. And if you don't have enough money to compete, then you can't necessarily publish in good journals because you can't do the amount of work. You don't have access to the amount of equipment. And so everything in science is a system that feeds back in on itself. It's this terrible feedback loop that's just like, if you went to undergrad at Harvard, your chances of becoming a professor, getting a job as a scientific professor is like 100 times more than if you went to, some random state school. Why? Not because you're a good scientist or individual. That has nothing to do with it. And that's the problem. Like science, the people who win in the game of science aren't people who are actually good at science, right? And how do you find that? I don't know. You make a more level playing field. You distribute things more equally, right? It's a system that should be able to do these things because it's non-governmental. There's no market forces driving it, right? And so we should be able to, like.
Yeah, and you should be able to just do some science, do a good job, be careful, document all your work, and then just put it up on the internet for anybody to have access to and read, and that should be reasonably respectable science, because you can bullshit your way to a paper and sell, or you can be really perfectly honest and have it just be on your blog and nobody knows about it, right? And there's a bunch of fraudulent papers out there where people Photoshop their results and stuff like that.
Oh,
Sometimes
I'm sure in most papers there's some type of fraud. That's the thing, whether it's accidental or on purpose, because it's like sometimes fraud isn't necessarily so. I remember when I was in graduate school and this faculty candidate came for a job talk, and after job talks or something for the department, usually people would go out to the pub at the university and drink some beers and talk. And this person was like, I was working on this research and this experiment wouldn't work for me, or the results I'm getting weren't like interesting. And then I did the experiment again and I got interesting results, and then I published it in Nature, and now I'm like doing all these faculty talks, and it's like, wait, that's not how it's supposed to work. Like you can't just like do an experiment 10 times and then the one time the results are interesting, I'll publish those. Like it's not necessarily, right? Like they're not like lying, but it's extremely misleading, right?
Yeah, and it's like then you try to replicate that study a few years later, and it works like it did the first 10 times for them, and not like it did the one weird time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the videos should be mandatory for publications.
And methods. Yeah.
Well, not just that. I think like detailed methods, all data, raw data should be made available.
Yeah.
Right? Like there should be so much more than what is given, which is like sparse information on the methods and like details of what actually was done, and like no raw data. Like there's no, unless you're doing like some bioinformatics shit, and even then, even if you're doing bioinformatics shit, a lot of times if it's like some important data, they won't make it available because they're just like, we don't want other people running experiments on our data because they're going to publish papers before we can. It's like, I thought that was the point, to like have science done at a rapid pace so people could benefit from it.
Yeah, it's just like, this whole model is like a 1800s model of science, like surely we could come up with something better.
Yeah, it's just yeah, totally. And I think the first thing is like distribution, right? Distribution of knowledge and access and things like that, right? Because like the idea that all great ideas and research are going to come from, some old white guys at Harvard is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's just like I wouldn't bet on that, It's like if you gave me a bunch of money and were like, all right, I want you to find people that you are going to bet on to make the next innovation. There would definitely be a lot more interesting people than what we see in science today.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Cyanafed commented, do you guys think that online science content will replace the publication system that science currently revolves around? And by
You guys
online
click on the comments and show them.
I can't pin it,
No, I don't think we can.
but I can read. And by online content, I mean streams, vlogs, even something a subscription platform. I mean, I think there can be like, why don't make scientists like creators? Like, why do YouTubers earn so much money from like stupid videos when you can make scientists make videos about something really important and pay them, and have like, I don't know, even on YouTube you don't have to buy YouTube Premium, but if you want to, you can for like, I don't know, $4.99, right? And you get access to everything. I think that's
yeah, the
cool
thing
way.
is that like publishing it's a replacement for actually. It's funny because I remember when I was in graduate school and they were looking for new faculty for the university, and my professor, my mentor, I asked him something like, do all the faculty candidates you interview, do they have like papers in like Nature and Science and stuff like that? And he was like, yeah, but I don't like that. And I was like, well, why don't you change it? Like why? And it's because like, well, that's what the grant funding agencies are looking for and other stuff like that. And I was like, why can't people just read the papers and decide if they have merit on their own? It doesn't seem like that complicated of a thing, right? Like you're a scientist, it's your field. Like I imagine you could like read the paper and have a good idea of the quality of the content in the work without having a journal tell you what it is. And it just comes down to the fact that people are lazy and like don't want to put in the work, when it's just like, and people don't want to give up their own prestige, right? That they have. And when it's just like I thought that was the basis for science, is like, so like people should just be putting their science online.
Like, it's supposed to be a huge collaborative effort of like all mankind, right? But we end up with it just being like a fistful of elites gatekeeping a lot of shit.
Yeah. Like imagine if we all, like, look at the coronavirus vaccine thing. That was so dumb. And that's the problem with humanity, is like you have every different country trying to create their own vaccine when it's just like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. Like, why are there like 2 vaccines, 3 different types of vaccines in the US? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's just weird that like as humanity we haven't come together, as scientists haven't come together to like solve problems. Instead it's just straight up competition nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Because the goals are no longer like scientific truth, The goals are to get grants, to get publications, to get famous. And that's like, yeah.
Yeah. And this comment down here says most people don't have an IQ high enough to understand science, let alone question it. That's horseshit to start with. Most people aren't as dumb as most people think they are. And like, just because you didn't go to school or you don't have like a, diploma or whatever, doesn't mean you can't learn and understand science. I mean, I did. So, if you can just be like a dumbass redneck from Mississippi and understand science, I think a lot of people can understand science that you're underestimating.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like people think they're not capable. And I think once you get over that to begin with, is that like anybody can learn to do science. Like none of us were, super capable people. I practically failed out of high school. David didn't even go to high school, right? Like we weren't like these super geniuses who are just like, oh yeah, of course we learned science and did this stuff. No, we're just the same as everybody else. That's the thing, is that like anybody can do science, but scientists tell people that like, no, you can't. You need to go to graduate school. You need to know these certain things and learn these certain things. And it's gatekeeping. It's dumb. It's just to like keep people away from their thing.
Yeah. And the whole thing is like, if and it's kind of cyclical, right? So it's like, oh, you're too dumb to learn science. And you tell people that their whole life and they're going to believe it. And then you write your papers in a way that's as convoluted and poor and bad at communicating as humanly possible. Yeah. Of course people don't understand it. You wrote a bunch of fucking gibberish. Like if you wrote it the way you would explain it to somebody, if you were talking face to face, people would understand it.
Yeah.
People aren't as dumb as people think they are.
Yeah.
I think science communication should have been like, okay, if you're a scientist, you're doing your paper. Yeah, you can do whatever that flex it is that, sometimes you open a paper and you cannot understand what they're talking about. You read it like 3 times. You're still in the abstract and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's just
I think it shouldn't be mandatory for scientists to, have like a 1-page paper where you describe it like to a toddler, to a 6-year-old, how it works. I think it's mandatory. If you're so smart, you should be smart enough to explain it to anyone. Maybe scale it down or something, scale it up. But you have to do that because I think that should be mandatory.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is when people like. I think people will want to learn a lot more things. People love learning stuff. It's just when you tell them that they're too dumb and it's impossible, they give up. They're intimidated. It's not that they have
just like science, but science is just following a protocol, which is just a recipe. So if you like ever follow a recipe and like cooked something, baked bread, baked a cake, like you're doing the exact same thing everybody does in labs, right? There's no difference, like really no difference. That's the thing, is like people separate these things in their head, and scientists do also. They make it seem like, oh, only elite people can do this stuff, but it's really not true. It's really not true. Like we read the same recipes that everybody else does. We're not sitting there like, oh my God, I'm such a genius. Like, let me do all these genius things.
Genius things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy because it's like, you once you get over like being I think it mostly takes, like, doing science on your own mostly takes confidence, right? It's more about just being like, I can do this. Like, okay, there's a word I don't know. I'm gonna look that word up, and then just go to the next word until you finally get it. And I think that's what most people lack, is just like the confidence to keep going. And I think that's bigger than like IQ or whatever. So I think people are just I think scientists are really bad at writing clearly. If you wrote a science fiction novel that was so full of gibberish that people couldn't understand it, your editor would be like, "Hey, this is gibberish. You're not getting the plot across here." And
are you talking about the Dune?
No, I love Dune. But so if your paper is just as badly written, I feel like the editor should step in and say, "Hey, this is gibberish. Nobody can understand this." You should write for everybody, and then people know what their, National Science Foundation or whatever funding is going for.
But if you write clearly enough, then people will actually understand what's going on. And then it creates problems because they will try to recreate it. And they'll be like, oh, you little sneaky.
Like that.
And it doesn't make you feel like a super genius to confuse people. Somehow, I don't understand why people want other people to not understand them, and that makes them feel smarter.
Yeah. And, science does need an incentive. Everything needs an incentive. That's totally true. Mm-hmm. I think the incentive of science should be outcome-based, though, Like, let's create something instead of, like, let's just find some knowledge and publish it, which is what it is right now. Whether it has significance or... I gotta find this. Let me find this, and I'll pull it up, because I was like looking for a link for like a really dumb paper, and this paper is published in Science. So let me pull this up. Let me do a screen share.
It better be good if it was published in Science.
Yeah, it's really good. And sexual deprivation increases ethanol intake in Drosophila.
They do that in humans too.
Somebody like studied this. And you're just like, wait, what is the purpose of that? Like, I'm super confused, And they try to relate it to like neurotransmitter reward system or something like that. But it's like, come on.
So they're saying horny fruit flies like to drink.
Yeah.
Never related to Drosophilas before, but no idea. I wonder if it was just like, some grad students were like, I wonder if I can, do this, and I wonder if I can publish this. And someone's like, I bet. And they just
like
did
some
it.
dude's trying to justify his alcoholism. He's like, it's not me.
My sexual deprivation. Being a scientist. But it's like, what is the outcome of that research, Like, and it's published in Science magazine, which is considered super prestigious, but like, what is the outcome? And I think if people started doing scientific research, and I think biohacking generally is that way, biohackers and human beings in general, I think more like, what thing am I going to create? You don't like half-baked bread in hopes that you failed or something. Well, I got some results out of it. No, you like bake bread to get something to eat out of it. And I think science should be very similar. The goals should be something tangible at the end. It shouldn't be like, I'm doing this to figure out, and don't get me wrong, there's some research that needs to be, done to understand these basic principles, but I think that can be in the build up to the goal, right? It's like when you create a rocket that goes to outer space, the first person has to do all the testing to understand the aerodynamics, how new materials work, and do all these things to create this original thing, right? They get to do the fundamental research, but it's goal driven. And I think that benefits everybody instead of just randomly doing stuff that you don't know what the outcome will be, right?
I do think there's some benefit for exploring just like random spaces, but I think it definitely should be a minority.
I mean, the search space is so large, though. It's just like and people are always like, "Well, look, we learned about this thing, because people were just doing like random fundamental research." But it's like you're implying that if people were doing directed, goal-driven research, we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's true either.
So it's like the premise is that like, doing random research in the most massive search space we could ever imagine, which is uncovering all the knowledge about the observable universe we live in, and maybe other universes we don't.
Right. It's just like way more information than humanity can ever imagine.
We should just randomly look at stuff, like. No.
I agree. Like if you're like, okay, let's make Mars rockets. Well, then you got like a set of things that you need to understand. Like, well, like what's the specific impulse of this, rocket fuel or whatever. And so you got like a lot of things you got to do. So you got to do some chemistry, and you got to do some this, and you got to do some that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, the search space is like unapproachably monstrous.
You know, people say this a lot, but here's the thing is like, you're arguing a negative, right? You're arguing because that's the only way people have done research, that it's the correct way to do it, which doesn't seem to make any sort of sense scientifically.
Also, math is a much, much smaller field than everything in the universe.
Yeah, but still, even math, right? Like, and I think a lot of math also is directed towards goals, right? I'm trying to solve or, you know, figure out this thing, this reason, you know? And so like the thing that I think that's the thing is that everybody always makes this point that like, ooh, we have to because that's the way we've done it, and so that's the best way. But that seems like the worst argument ever. You're telling me that in all of human history, we've only done one thing, one way, and that's the best way. I don't think there's anything that exists that you could say is that, right? And people haven't tried other methods extensively or done a search scientifically to see which methods work best and what's the most productive way to uncover knowledge in math or science or anything like that. You know, there's no like head-to-head comparison. Look, we took these 5 excellent math researchers and we had each one do different research for their whole lives and like see which method turned out the best for each person. And there's so much variability in that. And also it's hard, but like we don't do that. That would be the scientific way to do it, you'd think, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, to scientifically figure out which way to do science is the best.
Yeah, just circular. And you have to do the study again with the new science that wins that one. It holds up. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, also it's just like, you know, math, because like that study with the fruit flies, like you could presumably repeat that with every species on the planet, right? See if it holds true for every species. And then you could change substances and repeat it for every species again. And then you could change like what you're depriving them of and see if
people do.
Yeah.
And they're like, we knocked out a gene and we did the experiment again, right? Because it gets published.
Yeah.
Because the goal is publication. It's not coming to some goal or conclusion. And if it was coming to some goal or conclusion, you know, it's just like the amount of scientific publications that are published every year is fucking ridiculous. We can look it up. Let's go to scholar.google.com and you could search, we'll just say that might custom date range, articles that have the word "the" on it in 2020.
That's going to be almost all of them. There's one article that specifically doesn't have "the" in it at all.
So this just says it's funny, it matches somebody's 1,200,000 articles, right? So if we assume the average article is 10 pages, that is 10,200,000.
Yeah.
Or 10 million, 12, whatever. Okay, the average book is what, like 300 pages?
It's pretty, yeah.
So if we do 10 million divided by 300, how many books is that? 33,333 books. That's how much volume of information that is. Like, I don't even think anybody could read that in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, what if you read like book a week and there's like 56 weeks? So how much was it?
33,333. Yeah, so 52 weeks a year. So if you lived to be, let's say you did that for 80 years.
589 years.
Oh.
589 years it would take you to just read 1 year. That's 1 year's worth of scientific publishing.
Yeah, now you're 588 years behind now.
Like, I think we need to figure out a better way to, you know, do this stuff and make information available. And I don't think that way is the way we're doing it.
Yeah. And, you know, people doing, And that's the thing. So, and I do agree. Like just searching around randomly, sometimes you bump into something. But yeah, I do think it makes more sense to be like industry does. You know, it's like, okay, we're going to try and cure this disease, so we need to do research on X, Y, Z. But then we run into a big unknown, so we need to research that unknown to see if we can fix that, because that's going to help us solve the thing.
Yeah, I think though the idea that we randomly helps us find things is false, right? It's just statistically false, right? If you think about like any sort of complex random walk,
Yeah,
right?
like a search, like a maze solving algorithm.
Yeah, any type of space you're trying to search, like it's never usually the random is never the best way.
Yeah.
Every other thing that you do, you will achieve better results than if you just do random, right?
Yeah, and plus it's like random plus popular, which is extra weird.
Yeah.
It's like after CRISPR came out, there were like a billion papers that came out about CRISPR, you know. And even though like none of them really added anything, so like if somebody like makes a CRISPR paper, they don't reference the billion papers, they just reference like the 3 first ones or whatever. So it's just like, you know, yeah, it's like somebody finds something interesting randomly in the dark, and then everybody just hovers around it for a while. And
yeah, because imagine if like there were no journals to publish stuff in. The incentive to do research would completely change.
Yeah.
Right? Because you would no longer be incentivized by getting publications. So you'd be incentivized either by like doing stuff that really impresses people, so you stand out. Yeah, or you do stuff that you create something with.
Yeah.
That there's some outcome at the end.
Yeah.
Right? It would be totally different.
Yeah, it's true, because you'd be like, hey, I'm doing research into rocketry, but not like just to see, you know, if fruit flies like rockets or not, but like I'm doing research into rocketry because my rocket's going to be better than your rockets, and then I'll fly faster, cheaper, better. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like they made it and they published how they did it online and all their information and results. And then somebody else was like, I'm going to make one better than that. And like, you know, the incentive would totally change. It would be like to actually have real world applied outcomes in science, which I think is like the whole point of science, right? Like knowledge gathering for knowledge gathering's sake, sure, do it whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah. But like that doesn't benefit anybody.
Yeah. And almost all of it'll be lost.
Yeah.
Like that fruit fly paper you just showed, like in 700 years, how many people are going to have any knowledge of that paper's existence? 0, right?
Yeah.
Probably Drosophila wouldn't even exist anymore.
I know, right?
Or it will. It'll just be like they'll be like 8 feet tall and self-aware and flying spaceships around, and we're at war with them. They got too CRISPR'd.
And they're drinking because they're sexually depressed.
Right. And then somebody finds that paper and go, we figured it out.
We knew it. We knew it all along. The reason fruit flies drink so much is because they don't get to have sex often.
Right?
Oh, God. I don't want to comment on mini circles. But we'll just leave that one there.
Yeah. And there's somebody commented on, scientists are incentivized by, they won't get grants if their research isn't useful. But like, I think that's obviously not true, because people do non-useful research, and it also
the majority of research is not useful. Like out of those 1,200,000 papers, more than that, that's just the ones that are on Google and have the word "the" on them.
Yeah.
Like of those papers from last year, the amount that were significant and probably contributed to something have to number in the thousands or less.
Yeah.
Right? So it's definitely not 100,000. Like 100,000 papers didn't contribute to some change in our society or some applied thing, right? That's way too many. So you're probably talking, less than 10,000, probably even less than that. I might argue, just based on like the amount of things that get developed in society and worked on, you're talking in the hundreds or like low thousands. And so it's like do something useful. Like majority of science is not useful, at least not in any significant way, right? And it's because the way resources are distributed and a lot of other things. So you have scientists who are working on stuff that they can only afford to, or like, publish on, instead of things, again, that actually create something. And so it's just like,
yeah, and people that give grants, I mean, they give grants for a lot of reasons, and not all of them are like, this is really like these guys don't have foresight into the future where they like can know what's going to be good. Like they just are going with their guts, and sometimes it's like their buddies or the prestige of the institution that the grant is proposed to go to, or it's like,
tax fraud.
Yeah, or this is my pet project and I think it's going to lead to something really important because I'm super into CRISPR, so I'm going to write a grant to anybody who uses the word CRISPR.
Like, obviously knowledge is based on accumulation of knowledge is based on previous knowledge, but like, how much is that true? Like, how much knowledge do you actually use in this? Like, most citations in a scientific paper aren't from knowledge that is used to do the experiments for the scientific paper, right? It's usually very little, right? The methods, obviously, but most of that stuff is like, even if you had to solve it from scratch nowadays with modern equipment and technology, it would take you very little time, and so it's like, sure, like, sure, we like stand on the shoulders of giants, but that's like saying like society progresses.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it does. Like, we don't have automobiles that were the same way that they were 100 years ago.
Yeah, but it's also it's a signal versus noise thing. It's like lots and lots of noise, very little signal. If you're just randomly accumulating random bits of information and calling them progress.
Yeah, like the things that are actually progress or like useful is like very small, right?
Yeah, like you can like look at static on a TV and record all the data, but it doesn't mean that any of the data means anything.
Yeah, and you'll get results. That's the thing, is like, things tend towards some sort of distribution.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, whether it's static on a TV, whether it's whatever. So you can observe random or semi-random phenomenon or whatever, and like,
Yeah.
There's actually this really good article written by one of my friends, Mike Solana. What is that blog? Oh God, I can't think of the name. It was on like paranormal research, or like parapsychic, whatever research, like on people can like read minds and do all this stuff, and like, yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of this stuff is immediately dismissed under the assumption that we know everything that there is to know about the world and who we are and all the physical laws that exist.
Yeah.
But that's totally not true.
Yeah, there's definitely bias.
And so it's like the idea that, we know, like, it's all the things we know nowadays. 50 years ago or even less, people would think that it's crazy to like, no, that's not true. Science is wrong a lot. It's a system that isn't necessarily built in the best way to like deliver knowledge, share knowledge, and build on knowledge and information.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a the fundamental question is, how ought we proceed with the process of developing science, or developing like a better understanding of the universe and how things work in ways that we can use to improve our lives?
Yeah. That's the goal of being a human, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Shit. To make sure I don't suffer as much for the time I'm here, and make sure my kids don't suffer that much for the time they're here. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't really know what any other goal I have.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so it's just like, all right, well, if you had to design the optimal system, would it be what it is? And I don't think any scientist would say, yes, I would design it exactly like it is now. It is flawless.
Yeah.
No,
not at all. I think the whole system needs to be gutted. Personally, it's just like, what's redeemable about the system? I don't know.
Yeah, and I do
like
think
going to school to become a scientist, like that's not redeemable. Like that's terrible way that science works. It's so gatekeepy, and it extremely creates lack of diversity of thought, right? In science, like publishing sucks. Getting grants, like most professional scientists, like people who have faculty jobs, they spend most of their time writing grants.
Yeah. It's kind of pathetic.
Yeah,
like, can you imagine your whole job is begging for money? Like you're literally like a homeless person.
Oh no! And they say you spend your whole life. You're like, I'm going to be a scientist. I'm going to grow up and do science, win the Nobel Prize, and change the world. And you like go to school and do all
cure cancer.
Yeah, and at the end, you just end up.
And then you're just like, dear Mr. Epstein, please give me some money, and I can prove scientifically that you're not a pedophile.
Didn't his like father-in-law invent the scientific publishing model?
Epstein, I have no idea.
Yeah, because what's her name? She went to trial.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, Maxwell. Yeah, her dad was a publisher who invented the scientific.
Oh yeah. He was very rich.
Yeah. It was like a publisher.
No, here's the thing: is that you don't. It's like, this idea that science needs a gatekeeper or a distribution mechanism or something like that. I think that's totally wrong. And I think starting with that premise is totally wrong, right? I think there's tons of things out there that are already super useful and available. And I learn more about scientific research on social media than I do any other way, because people just post what they're working on. Hey, look, I worked on this. I did this. Here are the results from this thing I did. Sure, you have to follow these people who do scientific research, but is that really that difficult to like
and subscribe?
Yeah, find people who do scientific research? I don't think so, right? And you get to choose and you get to pick what's interesting and stuff like that. But the way the internet is nowadays, it's not hard to search the internet for any sort of scientific research. It doesn't matter if it's on a blog or a scientific paper or where, a YouTube video or a TikTok. Well, TikTok is hard, I guess, if you're trying to search the internet for it, but you know what I mean.
There's a lot more of that, less so with science, but more so with just engineering and DIY construction stuff on YouTube. You can go onto YouTube and you can find some dude who's turning his car into a robot, so he can drive around a big mech, and you could follow his whole progress, as he's slowly doing this thing. Or somebody's doing all sorts of crazy, interesting projects, and people watch that stuff and learn.
We got millions of views. Even if we talk about, there's someone wrote down a comment that oh, science is not interesting. There's channels what is it, Vsauce, Veritasium.
Mm-hmm.
They're not scientists conventionally, but they communicate science really well, and they get 10 millions of views just because they make it interesting. So why can't you be a credible scientist? Just show what you do.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Same. Pretty soothing, actually.
I like how it makes you feel shit, I could do that. That seems so much cheaper than buying a house.
I know.
These two guys who are brothers in the forest who are always digging holes in the ground and making pools and houses.
But it's so entertaining.
I
know.
It's
ASMR.
I'm always wait till it rains though. It's gonna be a wreck.
Also,
they actually do stuff to I don't know, make old school techniques to harden it and all this other stuff. Yeah. So usually it's I don't know how long it lasts, but I feel it's interesting.
But yeah, I think people will don't ruin our illusions, David. I think people will. I think people will follow stuff like that. I think people will be interested. I think people will learn more, and I think people will be able to contribute more because I watch a lot of these like high end engineering things. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, last time I was having trouble with this, but this engineer and that engineer and that engineer said, hey, have you considered using this?" And then that solved my problem. So like it makes it a lot more collaborative between people. Like there's much more opportunity for unexpected like collaboration and opportunity. Because like if it's just like you and your lab and the 4 people that work there, and that's all that's ever going to be involved in this project, that's just it. Like unless you email somebody, nobody ever knows. But like, put it out there during the process. There's opportunities that you can't anticipate.
Yeah.
And also, was it a publication bias when people don't post their research just because it's insignificant? Like it's not. What is it? There's like a statistical value of your research, even though the statistical value was made up because it's like a concept.
Yeah, it's totally arbitrary.
Like it was just asked by a dude, one of the like coin vendors of this statistical model, and what's the good, the statistical, was it a power or whatever? And he just said, 0.5. So now everyone tries to like reach that, even though it's pretty much made up.
Yeah, it also is like, what if it's like just not quite, Like how close do you have to get before it's like, nah, fuck it, doesn't matter. Like, it's just weird that it's like a hard line, and then between different subjects.
Well, it's tough, right? Because statistical significance only matters in things where you're trying to prove a point. When you already have a predetermined point of view that you're trying to support, instead of when you're actually trying to, create something. Nobody's like, yes, our rocket, launched statistically significantly. No, like it did or didn't, like did
it's either a fireball or a rocket.
Did it work or not work? And that's the funny thing. Sure, I get there's certain things where that's not always true, but statistics, oh God, it's so misused, and it's kind of fucking bullshit because it's just like, there's no way where statistics doesn't have some amount of like inherent error, right? Because the universe doesn't obey strict mathematical laws that we try to force it into, And so it's just like, one of the funny things about statistics is like with normal distributions is just like sampling, is just that like the more you sample, the more your distribution tends to be normal and has like a normalized mean, right? Your typical bell curve type thing. And that's just like taking more samples. So you're telling me you can completely change your statistical distribution by taking more samples? Yes, you can. Right? And that's just like, I don't know, like what?
Especially if you start doing stuff like kicking out outliers and doing stuff like this.
So it's just like, these things aren't so, cut and dry and like straight edge, like people want to imagine that like, ooh, it's statistics. That must mean it's right because it used maths. Yeah. And it's like, no,
that makes it true. Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with it. Like the reason you're using the maths should be the correct reason. And most of the time it's not, because like most things don't follow like statistics easily. Right. Especially when there's like a lot of outside influence, it's just like,
yeah, especially like if you did an earlier study where you figured out which cohort is most responsive to your thing, like you're doing a drug study, so you like test a bunch of different kinds of people, find that like men 18 to 25 are the most reactive to your drug, then you do a whole study with nothing but men 18 to 25. And it's like, oh yes, we got a strong.
That's what they do. That's what drug companies do, right?
No.
That's super fucked up. So then they can send it to the FDA and it could get approved. And it's like, I don't know. This is funny. Chi-square tests are kind of like Colder psychology psychic sessions, but for science. Chi-squared is just like a statistical test, and you just apply it to try to get like significant results between, samples and stuff like that. And it's funny, that's the way statistics are used. It's just like, let me see if something is statistically, I'll just like take this data and plug it in. And if it doesn't work, let me like take this other data or this other test and see if it's true. It's
add enough things together, you eventually get something.
Compare enough different things and add enough data, like eventually something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Some scientists be talking about how statistics is so important, and then they'll be faking their own like statistical data in the paper. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like that is one really big benefit about like if you're doing your work based on trying to create a thing, because then like how do you bullshit that? If your airplane doesn't fly, nobody's going to believe you. Yeah, I do like that, because it's a lot easier to bullshit with statistics.
Yeah, and Flack Monkey is asking all the real questions. How possible are things like brain in a vat, artificial blood, head transplants, and can biotech help achieve it ethically?
Oh man,
those are the important questions.
Head transplant is an interesting question.
I don't know. Ask Alex Broman.
With ethics.
Here's the thing: is that like I think that's a great part. I read there's actually this good essay. It was written by this person in the 70s who was doing like brain transplants between like different species of animal.
Oh,
so I think it was like some form of aquatic, like lizard and like a frog or some shit like that. In the way that this person tested whether the transplant worked, because like it didn't integrate completely, so they didn't have like they couldn't see, but I think they could still move their limbs and shit.
Oh fuck.
And so this person tested whether the animal responded to the smell of food that one animal enjoyed and the other animal didn't, and they did.
Wow.
So they concluded that like the brain transplant, like it was the actual brain that was like causing, but like research on shit like that has just, it's not cool anymore. Like people think it's taboo and weird and stuff like that, but like that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
That like you can like there's been studies of people transplanting brains between animals, and like obviously those brains aren't that sophisticated, but like yeah, it'd be interesting to have people do research on stuff like that, but you can't, because it's just like academic science won't allow you to, right? That's the other big problem with academic science, is like, because it's so driven by publications, right? If you can't publish it, then you can't get grants, then you can't get faculty jobs, and you can't get all this other stuff. And the only things you can publish is things that everybody else agrees with, even if you found out that like anthropogenic climate change is wrong with like 100% data to back it up, like they wouldn't let you publish it. Right?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it's also like things like head transplants, like there was some guy who was talking about doing a head transplant in Russia or something like that, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, of course it's going to be Russia.
And they talked about it briefly, but like all the articles, all the things that came out were just like instant negative, like all the like news reports and stuff like that were just like, this is a horrible thing to do. So it's like obviously very slanted, but I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who could really benefit from a head transplant, right? If your body's just completely fucked up and your head's fine, you spend the rest of your life.
Somebody gets shot in the head,
Yeah, exactly. Somebody shot in the head, their body's fine, they're dead, and you're like crushed in a wheelbarrow accident from the neck down, you're completely a wreck. You got like that would be a great option if you could just replace everything. But they immediately were just like, oh, this is terrible. So there's also like a lot of media
but it's different how you draw the line. So you can get like, I don't know, 5 organs transplanted at the time. You can get your bone marrow transplanted. You can get so many, and even like blood transfusions don't even count like anything, because. But if it's a body, it's already like, whoa.
Yeah, it is weird how the ethics depend on how comfortable we are with it. Like I'm sure the first time somebody was like, "Oh, we're gonna put." We're going to transplant a heart. So I'm sure a lot of people were like, that seems fucked up. We shouldn't be doing that. We're playing God.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, and I think the crazy thing is that like ethicists always are the same way, and it's like never change. I think that's the funny thing about ethicists is they're never like, this one I think we should go ahead with. It's always just never. No. It's just like always no. There's never like.
It's like your parents when you're a kid. Can I? No.
I would believe them a lot more if they were just like, all right, this one we're okay with. But they're always like, no. They're like, no, we're not okay with this. We're not ready for this. And then after it's done, they're like, okay, we're, once everybody else agrees with it, they're good. And so it's just funny. It's like, what is the use of ethicism?
Yeah. It's like, when you're like if you're a parent, you're telling your teenager no to every single thing. They're going to do it behind your back and not tell you, and probably not going to do it safely. So maybe it's better to, say yes and do it in a controllable, whatever. You can negotiate. You can always negotiate to a point when no one is satisfied, but it's socially acceptable. So why not do that?
Yeah. And that's the thing is it's just like, you just become like a echo chamber of the public fear, rather than actually like doing the process of ethics.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't talk about Blade Runner 2049 in here. We pretend like that movie doesn't exist.
Which one?
I like it.
Blade Runner?
Yeah, but Dave, you like every movie.
I do.
No, Blade Runner 2049, not Blade Runner.
I liked with Ryan Gosling. I liked it.
Really?
So you're on
Yeah.
I remember when did it come out? I think I was like I just got into university, and a boy invited me for a date, and I was like, okay, let's go see Blade Runner, and he fell asleep, and we never talked again during the movie.
Yeah, it's not as good as Blade Runner, but it's not a bad movie.
I think it is. I think it's terrible. It doesn't make any sense. Come on. What's going on here?
I think, honestly, but it's like, what is it, Denis Villeneuve? His movies are all like this, right?
I really like his movies.
It's like, let's make stuff that's really cinematically pretty, but don't make sense at all.
I don't care. I'll just sit there and look at the
I feel like Blade Runner 2040
if I want to look at
made more sense than Dune.
I'll just watch the landscape, like drone over landscape.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
I would watch that, or like the Northern Lights, like in like a time lapse.
Yeah.
I like Josiah's approach when we got high at your place, and so you have like a huge TV and you just play like drone. What is it again? It's a good suggestion.
Moods. Yeah, no. Just get high and watch Earth Moods. I would totally rather do that. We'll watch like Dune or Blade Runner 2049.
No, Dune was horrible, honestly. It was beautiful, but it looked like a Dior fragrance advertisement with Zendaya just being like, her whole she just had blue eyes and she was just like, I'm mysterious.
Don't say that.
Then you spend 3 hours and then there's just like part 2 coming in and I'm just like, now I have to see a part 2?
I know.
It just we have to accept that there are just some books that cannot be made into movies, and that's okay. It's okay.
Just like, you don't have. The problem is they're just trying to sell it so hard, also, right? So they're gonna put in it's like when they made The Hobbit into 3 movies. Like that was
a mess. That was a hot mess. That's one movie I will not get behind.
I was just like, no, I can't. I think I watched the first one and then I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I haven't watched any of the other ones because it's just the story is not that long and interesting where it deserves 3 movies.
Yeah, they added a whole bunch of crap and then took out a bunch of stuff that was in there that would have been great, and they added a bunch of stuff.
It's just get to the point. I've been watching some of these documentaries lately, and they used to make them 10 episodes, and now they're 4 episodes, and they don't drag it out, and you're like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like
But
true
you can
crime
make like
documentary,
a
that's
1
4
hour
episodes too,
documentary,
like,
and now they
drag
make it
on.
also a 4 hour documentary. So it's just like a 4 hour documentary. It's like I was watching this documentary on the Netflix about polygamous child abusers from America, obviously. So it's like a religious cult, and it was 4 hours, so it was 4 parts. And of course, I was so interested in like 1 a.m. and I had to like binge watch. And I was like, this all could have been told in like 1 hour session, and there's still an open end, and you're like, oh, Jesus, come on.
I get like Dune
And then
is
it's
hard to
4
adapt,
a.m.
but like
and you're
honestly, the
disappointed.
thing about Dune is like all anybody wants is just show the fucking fucking sandworms and like
Sandworm was fucking awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
people fighting and like that's it. Like you don't need anything else. Like what are we trying to do? We're trying to make this like Game of Thrones or some shit, you know?
That's
I think if they remade Game of Thrones again under a different name, nobody would watch it because it was fucking boring. Like nothing happened in Game of Thrones.
It definitely dragged in parts. I think
just like
I never watched it.
The one fight that they have where like all the zombies show up and they fight at Winterfell, like that's the only thing worth rewatching in the whole thing because that was awesome. It was
I don't think I'll
know why
ever watch Game of Thrones, like ever, just because it's just like I don't, and it's just like come on, you can like condense this down and just show the like Marvel movies. It's like nobody's expecting Dune to like, I don't know, be some work of genius that's like blows everybody away. No, it's just like, just have people blow shit up and kill shit and giant sandworms. Like that's all you need.
I think that's what the 70s version was.
Was it Jodorowsky's movie?
David Lynch, yeah.
David Lynch made a Dune?
Yeah, way back in the day.
For some reason I thought it was Jodorowsky. Now everyone who's like into movies are gonna be so like, how can you not know a difference? I mean, there is a big difference, but still. Oh my gosh, I would watch. I now I want to watch David Lynch's Dune.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't Dune.
You should watch the sci-fi channel. They made like a 4-part series or something on Dune. I think that one's really good.
It was definitely better, and I like that they went further because they actually went into like Children of Dune, which I think is the more interesting story than Dune. So like Dune is like almost a prequel to the real story in my mind.
Yeah, right on. But yeah, it's because it's just like ugh. And like Timothée Chalamet, like I feel like I just want to punch him in the face all the time.
I know. I have such a big hate-love relationship with him. Like I want to hate him, but like first of all, he's really handsome, and I hate his appearance because like he's a good actor. Actually, I enjoyed different movies, not the Dune, but other.
You say
but then
you hate him.
Yeah, and I hate and like I love it because like he's too chiseled. Like his face looks like I don't know. He looks like a fox. He looks like a bicycle seat with his like a bone structure.
Oh.
And I hate that. He's conventionally attractive, and I hate that.
That you like that?
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it that hard, but like I don't know. I thought the movie, like Dune, was beautiful, and I don't know. I think part of what helps is I had the book like running in my head, so I'm like putting a lot of stuff on like their little micro expressions. And I'm like, oh, they really.
I never read the Dune, so it made no sense to me.
Okay, well, I think it would help if you like read Dune and then watch it.
I don't. Why do I have to read the book to watch a movie?
Okay, so maybe that's the difference between us. I read Dune, so.
Yeah.
No. Well, you don't have to read the book to watch the movie. Like
I think in this case you might, but
it should be self-explanatory though. I mean that's like the point.
I mean, sure, but I don't care. I don't care what it should be. I just I enjoyed the experience of watching it.
But yeah.
Foxy bike seat.
Foxy bike seat. Wow.
Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
Like he was good in like low budget movies, like Call Me by Your Name. What is it? When he was a drug addict and like stuff like that, he was really good in it. When he actually had to like act and there was like a good script, it was good.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Anyway, there might be a Biohacker season 3.
I haven't seen
Oh
season
gosh, second
I didn't see
season
season 2.
was horrible. In
I
second
didn't
season,
watch it.
there was nothing about biohacking.
2. Yeah,
at
I
all.
got the feeling that was what was going to happen because by the end of season 1, there was nothing about biohacking. It was just like regular,
Trust
like,
me,
calm drama.
season 1 in like biohacking term is like a 10 compared to season 2. In season 2, there's nothing about science even.
Do people
It
like
was
the
just
comic?
like,
How can we set this up? Can we like? No, that doesn't
I'm
work.
so tiny. Let me out. Ugh, so much
We're
better.
just
Trying to
Still,
figure out-
I barely,
everybody's always like they want to see the comments and everything like that, but I guess
Could somebody make a comment? And
Oh wait,
we'll
can I
see.
like resize?
I think there should be like they can be like a bot or something for comments or something.
Yeah, I guess we could display them. It just like There's 3 of us. Wait, let's see. What about? Is that one better or worse?
I mean, you can see
I
more
like to
of
be.
our surrounding.
I like to be like snuggled.
Yeah, you like to be snugged in there.
I have social anxiety. I need to be like. I mean, not social anxiety. I'm the other way.
The whole show
Brady
is
Bunch
moving on good
vibes?
poop, diseased poop.
Is that bad?
I
don't
feel
know.
so alone now. I feel like. See, now you can see our surroundings are like we're very alone.
Yeah, you don't like this? Can we get a
No,
vote?
I mean, I think you definitely have the least exciting surroundings. You got all that color, some science
Yeah.
stuff. You have a plant.
Yeah, I have a giant plant here. I have a dog behind the scene too.
Wait, you have a dog?
I'm dog sitting this week
We'll see the
for my
dog.
friends.
Get the dog on camera.
You want to see the dog? Okay,
Let's
no.
go.
If I need someone, if someone's gonna make a funny comment, I'm gonna show the dog. It's really cute.
Okay.
Someone's gonna like actually make me laugh.
Wait, why does somebody have to make you laugh?
Because I'm not getting up for free. I need to like I need serotonin boost to
People
get.
try to motivate you.
Okay. Okay. Whatever. I will show the dog.
DNA people, I think we had a discussion about this a little bit ago about like digital DNA computing and bullshit like that. Like it doesn't make any sense in any way. Right? That's the thing, is that like computers, oh, there's a dog.
Nice. The dog's like, why are you holding
What am I doing?
I just love how some dogs get really stiff when you pick them up.
Yeah, but computing, like, right, your computer processor functions at a rate of like 1 trillion, actions per second or something like that. And like no biological process can come even close to that.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah,
like
other than just doing
faster
stuff
than the rate of
massively parallel.
diffusion. And so it's just like it doesn't really make any sense to do like biological computing. It'll never be able to compete with regular computing. And why would you even want to do that? Like, why? Why would you need a biological processor? But the interesting idea, I was gonna actually do a talk on this one time, was that like biological systems are computers, but for like building structures, right? They're like chaos computers. They're solving problems that there's not an equation that we can write to solve. They're solving the problem of like, how do you make a tree, right? How do you make a tree? Something that's like the structure and function of a tree. You plant a seed in the ground and it turns into a tree. So that's some type of computer that's solving this problem of like being alive and growing. I think that's way more interesting in how to find and apply biology to problems that require things like that.
Plus, the term chaos computer is just really cool.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I want a chaos computer. Okay, I like this comment. System Shock was a great game, and also excited about the remake.
I don't know what System Shock is.
Well, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about artificial intelligence and brains and machines and stuff like that is they do two different things, right? Like you're trying to do different things, so it's hard to compare. People try to compare like brains and computers, but it's like a computer is optimizing for like computations it can do, where the brain's not. It's optimizing for extremely complex things that like are very difficult for computers to do, right? And that's the difference. Will computers ever be as good as humans at doing these things? Maybe, I don't know. It's tough, right? Because like I could throw a ball at you and you could catch it really easily, or at least have it bounce off your hand.
Yeah,
But, like,
I was like, I'm not sure about it.
but like to do that with a robot is like impossible, at any sort of speed, right?
Yeah.
Sure, if you just like toss it gently, you could make something that's like ee.
Yeah.
But if you're just like throwing a fastball at some shit and has no idea where it's gonna go, like the chances it's gonna be able to catch that thing is like crazy. But like human beings do that all the time. Or like driving, right? Is crazy. Like there's self-driving cars. It's never gonna be a thing. Like not anytime recently. Not in the way we're trying to do it.
Okay, about self-driving cars. Am I the only one who thinks this is like one of the most stupid ideas ever made to like a humankind? And I'm so tired of like crypto and tech bros telling me that it's such a good idea. I'm like, I just want a public transport. Like, come to Europe. This is how people should live. There just should be affordable public transport for everyone, and that's it.
Sure. I mean, I
Self-driving
get
cars
it
are
that like
stupid.
some people want to do things on their own time and schedule, and they have different schedules than public transit, and
Yeah.
you could do it. Here's the thing: is that like if if all the car manufacturers came together and were like, let's put sensors on all of our cars so they could communicate with each other,
Yeah.
right?
And that's the
And
big
let's
thing.
put sensors on the roads so that all the cars can know what they're doing. Like you'd be able to solve this problem pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you need infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah, but instead they're just like, let's just try to solve this problem with like artificial intelligence. It's like, come on. Like driving is something that's extremely hard to do.
Yeah. And
So Elon Musk, come on, his idea to make like what is it, Hyperloop, a tunnel, like under LA to solve like traffic, which like literally didn't work. I'm like, stop hyping up dudes that are just rich and white and just post memes on Twitter. It doesn't mean that they're genius.
I know. Serious. I got this crazy dumb idea. I mean, yeah.
I like how the dog is so stoic.
Somebody to look up to,
This dog doesn't like Elon Musk too, right?
I have nothing against Elon Musk. Like I don't know. He seems like a normal person. He just seems like a normal person that kind of also accidentally got really wealthy. Like if he was just some random person on the street, it'd just be like, yeah, telling me about his idea to drill holes under LA and drive cars. I'd be like, all right, man, whatever you.
A subway, but with cars, but with Teslas.
Yeah. I
like
cars. I like living in the country, so there's no way I can like bus 80 miles to work and back. And I'm not moving to a city.
Justice for Laika.
Oh. Yeah, I know.
Elon Musk is a blood diamond. Yeah, I'm not like, I don't really know the person. So like I don't really have
someone
like,
invite Elon Musk on our next stream so maybe we can diss him in person.
Opinions about him, it's like seems nice enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think
I diss Elon Musk because of the Neuralink. Well, first of all of their monkeys died with their procedure, and they like tried to hide it. Second of all, when they published a paper, and literally Elon Musk knows nothing about. Like he's not a neuroscientist. It's like super complicated topic, and he like published. So it was a title, blah blah blah, something Neuralink stuff, and in the author section, it was just Elon Musk and Neuralink Tim, and I'm like, that dude has a small penis.
Yeah.
Like, who does this? Like,
Yeah. I feel that. Or it's just like, if you didn't do the work, why claim? He definitely has this claim of like he's a genius, but like he doesn't do any of the work, so it's just like,
I'm distracted.
But whatever. I mean, like, I think the whole thing is that like if he was just your friend hanging out, you'd hang out with him, you know? Like,
yeah, I guess.
It's just the fact that he's like some billionaire who like acts, you know, like a billionaire, that everybody's like bothered by him or loves him so much, when he'd just be like that one guy who, you know, sits on the couch and drink beers, and you're just kind of like, sure, whatever.
Yeah. So here's my question. Is the dog a Basenji?
Yes, it is a Basenji.
I thought so, but I couldn't see the tail.
It's like
curly tail.
Yeah, it's
curly
really cute.
Tail with a little bit longer hair on it.
Yes, and when she sleeps, super cute, because when she sleeps, it relaxes, but it still kind of curls, so it's like this.
Nice. I bet she's got a very smooth coat.
Yes, it's actually so. It's kind of like they're kind of like cats because they're so just unbothered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but we left the house yesterday for 1 hour, and she destroyed the couch. Like completely ripped the whole couch. And look at her face. Like she does not regret anything. You're just like a cat.
She's like, you had it coming. You shouldn't have left. You knew better.
That's funny. Yeah, dogs. And how many times have you been bitten by dogs, David?
3 times.
That's it, 3?
Yeah,
really?
Well, I mean, my dogs don't bite me, so.
I think I've been bitten by way more dogs than that.
Yeah. I've never been bitten by a dog.
Really? Never?
No, only like jokingly, you know, where they lightly like, you know, chew on you, but never like actually bitten. Even though we have so many stray dogs in Ukraine that can be aggressive.
Yeah. I've been bitten by an Akita and 2 Mastiffs.
Akita? Oh. Akita looks so calm.
I don't know if I just like have a knack for getting bitten by dogs or something.
They just don't like you.
Yeah.
No, the only time I've gotten bitten is you know, I tend to spend a lot of time around aggressive dogs. But
you know,
I got trainers.
I got bit the other day also by the hose. I was over at my brother's house and like
bit by the hose.
I was just like rinsing off some stuff with the hose. Yeah, because a dog like goes and tries to bite the water of the hose and then accidentally bites you. And I was like, like it bit me, you know, it like fucking broke skin and like left a mark. And yeah. It's
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's like happened to me, like, you know, I've never, you know, I mean, we had dogs when I was younger and a kid, but I probably haven't had a dog myself since I was like, I don't know, gosh, like 12 or something.
See, my thing is usually dogs don't just come on my property because of my dogs. So.
Oh yeah. Just like other people's dogs. I've been bit by like other people's dogs.
Yeah, that's what I've been bit by. Like, like the Neo was a Neapolitan that I was trying to breed, and he bit me. But I mean, he was like 150 pounds and massive and powerful. So I didn't get in a fight.
No, don't look at the last comment. Don't look at it.
He just insta-won, and the Akita, a friend of mine was a dog groomer, and he had several dogs that he kept at his place, and he forgot one of them because he was like in a rush, and I went out and fed her, and she bit me. But you know,
yeah.
Usually, I was just bit by hamsters, like to blood, like really.
Have they been genetically engineered rage hamsters like that paper?
No, just like hamsters are crackheads. They're like dangerous to society, in my opinion.
Hamsters? Wait, hamsters?
My sister was like a escape hamster. Like it was the thing was capable of magic. Like, you know how they have the little like clear plastic hamster cage things, and they have like the little climby tubes.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't it?
Climby tube, and if the climby tube was detached from the top, like it would just like be on top. Like you could get out the hole somehow, even though it couldn't scale the walls. I'm convinced hamsters are capable of short range teleport.
They're just crackheads. I
Just
found
like-
a hamster on the street, and I named her CRISPR. She passed away, but like with the fat ass, this like big ass hamster just on the street, like in the bush. So I took her. So I'm trying to carry her to my house, and
Why would you take the hamster?
well, because we have a lot of stray dogs and stray cats, and they would eat her, and it probably escaped, because it was like a suburban area. So I took her, and while I was carrying her, she like climbed onto my shoulder, and she just jumped from the height of like my shoulder.
Oh, no.
And I thought and she fell on like asphalt, but she didn't die. But every time she had like a two-story cage, and instead of using the ladder, she would just jump on her face down. And I think that was probably the cause. And she
David
bit
and I
me
were
so
talking
hard.
about this though. It's weird because like gravity is the same for every animal. So even if your like body, even if falling like 3 feet is like 5-10 times your body height or length, you're still gonna feel the effects the same as if you were a human, right? Because the acceleration due to gravity is constant, right? So it's interesting, right? Like the whole idea, if you drop like a feather in a bowling ball, they're gonna fall at the same rate. It's weird because it doesn't make sense. You're like, well, if this fly or this like little gnat falls off, 5 feet, that's like 500 feet to it or 1,000 feet to it, but it's really not. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work with your brain. You're just like, no, it should get injured. Like
I've seen some squirrels fall out of trees and hit the ground hard, like bonk, and be like twitching and knocked out, and you're like, oh, that squirrel just died, and then hop up and run away.
Oh no, hey, Phoenix.
Or like kids falling. Kids are also like, when I was babysitting like my nephews, my nieces, they can like hit their head so hard. Like I almost heard like the bones cracking, and I'm just like, we just laugh it off, and just like they just try to die every time, but they're like almost indestructible.
Oh, I think that's the
Odin accepts. Somebody keeps asking. The Odin accepts crypto payments. Just go on our website, order, select crypto, send it to our Bitcoin or Ether address or whatever. But cryptocurrency is pretty worthless right now, so good luck.
Yeah, it keeps going this way. It'll be like 1 Bitcoin for a jellyfish kid.
1 Bitcoin, $25.
All right. Oh.
I love the Bitcoin maxis though. I still see posting online. They're like, "You all are dumb for selling your Bitcoin. It's going to be worth $1 million per Bitcoin one day." And like,
what's a Bitcoin maxi?
Somebody who just thinks Bitcoin is, always going to be the epitome of currency in society.
Like maximizer?
Sure, it's just like a.
I wasn't sure if it was maxi pad or what.
Yeah, I know. It was my first association with the pad. I don't know, just maxi pad. That's like comes to mind.
You all are weird. I don't know.
No, we're not.
I'm super confused.
Cause like I'm familiar with like crypto bros, but not crypto maxi pads.
I haven't heard that one.
Neither am I, because it's not a thing.
It should be a thing. It would be much funnier that way.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to talk about crypto.
No, yeah,
it's like a dead conversation.
No.
There's like the people who think it's like, who's this flat monkey person? Can we ban them? They keep saying check my link. I don't even know. Like,
they haven't even sent a link, or I haven't seen it.
All right, this is your last chance, Flack Monkey.
Flack Monkey, you need to
link again.
Yeah, prove that you're a human.
Yep. Well, I think Flack Monkey was one of the people that you posted the comment from earlier.
Does that mean they're human or not?
I have no idea, but they at least said something interesting. I haven't seen the link at all.
I'm just laughing at my own joke about crypto maxi pads. I'm so hilarious. I can't stop just laughing at my own joke.
Got bitten by a isn't showing. Yeah, that's because links are blocked on purpose.
No, what's up with links?
Oh, no, somebody else is trolling now.
I think they're just trolling. Yeah, I don't think they actually.
Stop it.
Yeah, I don't think any of our chats allow the posting of links. It won't show up. So
God.
Everybody's doing it.
Y'all are like, teenagers in a class. Do you think I'm a Russian bot? No.
I mean,
but I have your IP and my HIMARS set to your location.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. People that would find our conversations interesting are not the kind of people who are going to do what they're told.
Any questions anybody has? Any questions? Any questions? Link sharing is caring. No, it's not.
No.
I think that's, link sharing is...
Like, unasked link is like an unasked advice. No one cares about it.
Reunion Island? That sounds like a reality show where you have to meet with your ex or something.
Phone spiders at the spam box.
Oh, God. Seriously, what are our thoughts on bestiality? All right, you're getting banned. Sorry.
What is a bestiality, though? My English is not perfect.
Having sex with animals.
Oh.
Blocked.
Yeah.
This is horrible.
Try reloading the page.
I guess because you blocked.
No, what happened? Oh. Reload. I'm not reloading.
Okay.
Why aren't scientists using interferons for corona treatment? I don't even... Oh, coronavirus? And using interferons for corona treatment? I don't...
Stop. Don't need...
Because they're easier and more effective ways to treat coronavirus? I don't know. Is there a reason that you think they should? Will the Odin have kits for genetic engineering on plants? I think everybody asked that like every time we do anything. Plants, no, we probably don't plan to have any plants kits anytime soon because plants are really difficult to genetically modify. So
we do have some plant media and chemicals and hormones and stuff available.
Yeah, so you can like go after it. Yeah, if you want to try it yourself, but yeah, it's just it's hard to make it like something that's accessible and easy for people. There's certain things, like people always ask us. We had a bioengineering 102 class. People always ask us if we're going to resell it, and the hard thing is it's hard for people to do. There's certain things that are just like technically difficult, and there's generally no reason to make it more accessible or easy. Sure, the thing about plants is it's not like there's a technical issue, but it's just like a time scale and like a like contamination issue, right? Because you just have to like grow stuff on Petri plates for months at a time, and like it can't get contaminated. So it's not like there's an easier way or any groundbreaking thing we can do where it's like now making plants genetically modified is easier and faster. No, it's just like it's always going to be complicated and difficult because of the way plants grow. They just take long to grow.
Yeah, as for the tooth biohacking, I think there was something came out with some blood pressure drug or Alzheimer's drug or something that was making teeth regrow. I don't know anything about it though, other than that.
That's something actually useful, I guess.
Yeah.
'Cause teeth are so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why am I 20? I'm 22 years old, and they're like already like I need to go to a doctor like 2 times a year for them to drill out them completely and like fill them and then do that again and again.
Yeah,
I brush my teeth,
terrible.
I floss, I do like everything. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, teeth are terrible. They should just have like, a solid bone thing. Like, why do we have individual
Then if
teeth?
there's a problem, you can't just pop one out. You got to do the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I got my tooth was
Wait, why would
ready
you have
here
to
in
pop the whole
Germany.
thing out? If it like cracked or something?
Yeah, I mean, like at least if it's modular, you can like replace one bad unit.
Like magnetic, you can just like
Wait,
a
but like,
denture.
I
you
mean,
can just...
sure, modern times,
Yeah,
but like, I mean, humans didn't evolve to replace their teeth.
I mean that's why we have the extra ones that come in later. Like Dara, you probably don't even have all your teeth yet.
I do.
You have your wisdom teeth?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
but I
I'm
mean, like,
still
how many
not
teeth
wise.
come in, right? Like, yeah, you're really arguing that like having individual teeth would be way better than just having like one solid bone thing.
I think so. Yeah.
But like, what if you do crack the whole like in
Yeah,
one
exactly. You
place?
crack one tooth, you're down a tooth.
It's
You
better
crack
to. It is actually, I think, better to like piece.
What do you mean? If you crack apart, it's not really going to do anything, right? It's like we break bones all the time.
I don't. Do you?
I have.
No, I mean human beings.
All the time.
Yeah, you go to the emergency room right now in any given place.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's definitely lots of people
with broken bones, and like normally they heal fine just on their own, right?
Yeah,
they don't.
Yeah,
break,
that's
like,
true. But yeah, but
they're outside
teeth.
bones.
Yeah, but teeth never heal.
I don't know. Do we have any outside bones?
Teeth, they're outside bones.
Ew! Why did you say that? It's so
are
disgusting. I can't now take my teeth seriously because of that. Ugh! I'm gonna have nightmares.
You can look up on the internet. There's a whole jingle about outside bones. It's hilarious.
It's like, have you seen the pictures of like skulls of kids? Because they have like two sets of teeth. So like their skull has like few sets of teeth because they still have their like little teeth. So it looks like they have like little holes, and it's like people who have trypophobia don't Google that.
Yeah, I tell you, yeah, it's also weird how random stuff is. Like I've never had a cavity.
What is this, like a job interview? Tell us about the useful, impactful stuff you've done or plan to do with your knowledge.
Wow.
Google
Are you
me.
hiring?
Look at my Wikipedia page. Yeah. Are you hiring? Is that what you're looking
for? Just like flexing with your Wikipedia page? Just okay, whatever. I don't have a Wikipedia page.
I'm sorry.
But yeah.
But
okay, cool kid. I'm gonna like edit your Wikipedia page, and I'm gonna write that, I don't know. I'm gonna write something stupid about it. I'll write Josiah likes poopy farts.
The secret is first you have to write a blog post about me, and then you just reference. Yeah.
Oh yeah, then there's a reference. Yeah.
Poopy farts.
Did you grow up with fluorinated water?
I have no idea. I mean, it was just like whatever they have in Mendenhall.
I don't know. I think
they have
grew
water.
Up with well water.
I mean, it's probably just well water because it's way out in the county. But it wasn't like a well we had. It was like the well that served our road and like the 4 roads around us. It was like one water tower. So I have no idea. Probably not.
I grew up with Chernobyl water, so.
Yeah.
I grew up on well water and have all cavities. The thing is, if you don't go to the dentist, then you don't have any cavities. No.
If they never check. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't look at your teeth, then you're not gonna notice the cavities.
Yeah, but I think
the thing is, I didn't go to a dentist for like literally 20 years, and
20.
Yeah. And like I felt like my teeth were fine, and but then when I went, they're like, yeah, you got like 30 cavities or something. And I'm like, what? It's crazy. I'm like, I don't like. Why do I need if my mouth feels fine? Why do we need to fuck with it?
Yeah.
And then I stopped going to the dentist again because every time I went, like my teeth hurt for like 6 months, and I'm just like, fuck that,
Yeah.
I didn't go to a dentist like for a year, and I almost died because they had to clean the root channel and do all that, and like my tooth cracked and all that, so it was horrible.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I didn't.
But you know how much it cost me in Germany to do all that? 0.
Ooh.
Ich liebe Deutschland. Deutschland.
So I should just go to Germany and then get my dental work done and then come back.
So Never mind whatever I said about Germany in the first stream.
Rich, you crazy bastard.
I take it back.
Yeah,
thing is, somebody's gonna have to make it to 1 hour and 39 minutes on the stream to like.
Germany is amazing, the best country in the world.
No, I mean,
are they making you say that?
No.
Teratomas. Here's the thing: is that it's interesting. So generally, if you have like mesenchymal stem cells, there's generally like 3 types of cells that you can differentiate them into, and it's like fat, bone, and muscle. So you can like actually grow like little calcite like formations in culture, just by inducing it. So yeah, it's really weird that tumors actually grow teeth. It's super crazy, but it's just like one of the inherent properties of stem cells that they can like differentiate into this thing.
Yeah, teratomas are some of the grossest things in the world.
I think I saw the pictures. They had like hairs and teeth and all that. Ugh.
Yeah, it's like.
Why can't you just like? I wonder if you can take that tumor and like give it the nutrients and everything so it grows, and you just like you have like a farm with tumors that grow teeth.
I mean, I won't say I haven't thought the same thing. It's like, what if you extracted a teratoma and put it in like liquid culture, and then just like see how big you could get?
I only want to be immortal if we all get swords and we have to fight it out like in Highlander.
Highlander was awesome.
That's it. But like just being immortal for immortal's sake, that seems really, I don't know, boring. What am I going to have to do? You know, like work my job for the rest of my life? It's like, you're 1,000. You get to live to be 1,000, but you also have to work a minimum wage
taxes.
Job.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. No.
I don't want to be like, I'm already done with being miserable for 22 years. I don't want to be like miserable for many more years.
I know. Like 10,000, unless we get swords and we get to fight it out.
You spend $10,500 on teas. R.I.P. I think you could fly to Germany, you know, have an amazing 5-star vacation here, fix your teeth, go back to the States, and have like $5,000 left. Magnetic implants.
I mean, a lot of people
but it sounds kind of fun. You can just like detach your tooth.
Yeah, I've seen things. They have them like when you go to the dentist and they have like a little video playing of like they like saw your bones down and like implant screws, and then you have like a bar and just like snap on there.
It's kind of. I wonder if it feels very nice, you know, like taking off your bra after a long day, or like your hair tie, and you just like take off your teeth and just like let the breeze. No. Yeah.
I'm more interested, like, if you had the metal bar underneath, like, could you still bite somebody? And like,
oh no, like dangerous. Introducing the 1,000-year mortgage. Jesus Christ.
Yikes.
That's what I think people forget about, like living forever and immortality. It's like when everybody lives together, it doesn't like become a utopian society.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, why do people? But they seem to go hand in hand. Like people thinking you're gonna live forever, and like all of a sudden some utopian society where you get to do all these things. No, like your life. If everybody gets to live, if you get to live forever, whoever is listening to this, then everybody does. And if everybody does, then it's kind of like pointless.
It's gonna be just the same, and just it's gonna be the same. Just takes longer time to die. That's it.
Yeah, I mean it's just like nothing really changes.
You can just earn more money to spend on shitty Amazon parcels when you're drunk that try to earn last 2 molecules of serotonin.
Only young people don't want to be immortal. If you say so, I don't know. You know,
like immortality sounds like hell. Maybe like expand the life, yeah, whatever. But like, what is the purpose of living forever? How do you even? And there's no like.
Yeah, what benefit do you get of it? That you get to like love somebody for a longer period of time? Like, I don't know. Like, why not just love them really hard right now? Yeah, they've already passed away. That sucks. I get it. but a lot of those things aren't preventable. Living forever doesn't mean that like all diseases don't exist and you can't die on accident or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right? If you're saying that you want to live in a world where
Yeah.
like everybody can't die, well, that's just like a total fantasy.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of like adds up, like the idea of like, oh, you'll have more time to do good things, and so it's like it somewhat depends on like how good your life has been, but it also means like statistically, if you live forever, every horrible thing that can possibly happen to a person will have happened to you.
Yeah, more likely.
Yeah.
What's up with everyone in the comments? Like, why everyone saying they would love to live longer? Like, aren't y'all
Wouldn't you
mentally
enjoy being
ill?
alive, just experiencing reality? No, like I think we try to avoid reality. I think we all do. That's why we drink and do drugs, and, like play video games and watch TV. I don't think anybody's out there like, "Oh, reality's so great. I'm just gonna exist." No,
No, just try to run from reality. Like, aren't y'all
are we all trying to escape reality? Like,
yeah, are y'all mentally well?
I know.
Why are you even watching this stream then? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Seriously, you should do something much better. Stay outside or something like that.
I don't want to live forever unless I can be a vampire.
That's a pretty good one.
I don't know. Not if you were like a Nosferatu vampire. Nobody wants to be that. Everybody wants to be like Lestat. Nobody wants to be like. I could create my ideal paradise. See that one I disagree with, because like honestly, like nobody's created an ideal paradise at all yet.
Nothing changes though. That's the thing. Is like, how would you create your ideal paradise? Yeah. What are you gonna do? Like, get more money, accumulate more things? Like, so is everybody else, right? Yeah. So it's like, society doesn't change, or it probably changes in weirder, worse ways. It doesn't change in good ways. It's not like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Value.
Like, if you could save up, $1 trillion over the next however long, so does everybody else. And so like to pay somebody to like milk a cow for you is going to cost like $100 million.
Yeah.
Because like you got to have some way to motivate people to do stuff, but they already have like $1 million. So they just want to sit back and do nothing too.
Yeah. What do y'all want to live for? You want to be like can you imagine like working your work? Like, you're not going to be better, nothing in your life is going to be better. You're just going to live longer, and that's it.
Yeah, because like everybody
like,
else,
I prefer the quality of life, not the
gets promoted, and like it's not like all of a sudden like you really don't get any benefits if everybody lives forever.
Yeah, I think that's part of what people miss, is they imagine that they get to live forever and the people they care about and everybody else still dies young.
Yeah,
because like otherwise it just doesn't change anything.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do something for others now if you love to do something for others.
Yeah, it's like, why do you need to live forever? Just do the most of what you have. You need to start helping people right now. If you're not helping people right now, you're not going to start when something changes.
Yeah. The only real difference I could say would be like if you're really into technology and you want to know what cool technologies we're going to have in 1,000 years.
Oh, you just want to like stay alive and be like, oh, that's disappointing, and then kill yourself.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's been 1,000 years and there's still nothing cool. Damn it!
It's like we still don't have real hoverboards. They all have wheels.
America still doesn't have a health system for everyone.
Disappointed. Like, there's not space pirates. Like, I'm trying to stay alive till space pirates.
If there's never space pirates, I'm gonna be so disappointed in us. Like, I'll be.
Watch too much Cowboy Bebop.
No, we need space pirates. That's how we know we made it as a civilization.
Yeah. Nothing is going to improve in your life tomorrow, so why bother staying around? Is that a question? Is that
I don't think that's what we meant. I think it's important to focus on right now and not how you would live your life if you were immortal. Just try to live your life like you're already immortal.
Yeah, I think that's it also, is like, if you're living your life and experiencing things.
Gotta see the PS23, then I'm done.
It's gonna be like a 5D fractal structure, I don't know, from like another dimension.
Honestly, I bet VR in another like 100 years would be amazing.
With this economy, no thanks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know,
Can you
right?
imagine living 1,000 years in capitalism? Like, what the heck?
Oh god, that'd be so terrible. You're like living in this shitty apartment.
Oh no. Jeez.
Yeah, I think it
Or
all.
could be something worse. You can live
Yeah, it'd be
1,000 years
something
in
worse.
communism.
I think
I don't
pretty
know
much
which one worse.
everybody's perspective on living forever also involves them being fabulously wealthy.
Yeah, just being
Or just, like,
just
being, like,
handsome,
perfect.
wealthy, smart.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if you were like healthy and fabulously wealthy now, you'd be like, this is my paradise I've been trying to create. I think people just feel like it's going to take them a long time to make that.
Live a longer health span. Here's the thing: is like, here's the problem: is that like if you want to live longer, it's not super complicated, right? There's things you can do to immediately participate in that now, and like stop smoking, stop drinking, don't eat meat,
No.
like exercise. Like if you do those things, like according to like all studies and scientific knowledge, we know like you're going to live longer, right?
Yeah.
But
Like
the thing
caloric
is,
restriction, but
nobody wants to do that. Everybody just wants a pill that like makes them live forever. Like taking aspirin a day, that'll help you live longer. Like shit like that, But nobody wants to
Yeah.
like exercise, or nobody wants to like eat their vegetables. Ew,
Yeah, I tell you, the biggest thing for me is like, like you can see the numbers on caloric restriction, and it like works like species after species after species. But it's also like it's one of those things that like immediately hurts your quality of life. It's like I'm just gonna be kind of hungry and starving all the time for my whole life. Nah, I'll die.
Yeah. No.
I like food too much. I'll happily die younger if I get to like enjoy good food in my life.
And also, people forget that not only you maybe think that you're a good person, and that's probably true, right? And you're gonna live longer, like way longer, and your friends and family are gonna live longer, but also all the criminals, all the like people like Mark Zuckerberg and all the billionaires are gonna live longer too. Like, do you want to live in that world?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm younger than like Mark Zuckerberg, and I'll probably see him die.
Yeah. Also,
not in that. That's not what I meant. I don't wish him death, but like I will see probably the future without these tech giants and stuff like that. But you just have them stick forever.
yeah, but also it's like Putin, right? Like the best chance for him getting out of office is him dying someday, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that's the best chance for everything to change in the world is like people passing away. So it's just like
It just
you take
could,
that
yeah.
away, damn, like
You need
that
old
really
people
puts
to
a
die.
curse on society and
And, like,
culture.
and like a dictator has the resources to like avoid getting killed by other stuff for a really long time. Like you and me would die in a bus accident or something, but like Putin would live to be like 7,000 because nothing would hurt him because he's got like wrapped in security.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so at least you can hope that, someone will die. And that's kind of good thing that people will die and like, bad people will die. Yeah, it sucks that good people die, but it's good that bad people die, right?
Yeah, and not even bad people, just that society changes, right?
Yeah.
That like things progress. Dying is part of that cycle of evolution and change and things like that. You can't have it without death, right? It just doesn't work. Because it's just like the people who have lasted the longest might just be the ones who continue to maintain power, right? And that's not the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, the difference is like this person saying, new evil people will pop up to take their place. And that's totally true. But also, like, it's difficult to entrench yourself in a really powerful position. It takes time. So, like, if you're just a new person that's born and you're going to be a dictator one day, well, you're not a dictator today, and you're going to have to struggle against a bunch of other dictators and probably kill each other for a while before you manage to set something up. But like, if you're already established and you're just going to live for 10,000 years, then I mean, there's no opportunity for change. Instead of like maybe the dictators will all kill each other for a while, and there will be a little peaceful period.
Yeah, I like this idea on term limits for politicians. The thing is like we could also just not vote for them.
Yeah. It would be interesting. What if they had an election and there were 0 votes counted? It would be like, well, I guess, I mean, nobody really wants to play anymore.
Well, you can vote for yourself, so like there'd be like 2.
Everybody votes.
But yeah, it's like that's the problem is that like society is arranged in such a way that like we are our own worst enemies. It's just like it's in everything. It's with science, like we started out talking and looks like we're almost at 2 hours, so we'll finish up talking. It's like scientists are their own worst enemies. They don't have to publish behind paywalls, but they all still do. Like it doesn't make any sense.
They have like a Stockholm syndrome. Like every scientist know that it sucks, the current system sucks, but they just keep doing because. And when you ask them why, they just said, "Well, because it kind of works, and we've been doing this," and that's just their response.
Yeah,
because if I don't publish behind paywalls, how will I get a job? How will I do this?
And it takes risk to operate outside the system. And that's the thing. It's like nobody individually wants to take those risks, so you end up with a lot of people not willing to do anything.
Yeah, so you get everybody who, votes for the old white politician person who does the same old thing that they have always done because they're just like, that other person looks different, and I don't know, taking that risk. Yeah, I know. It's because, Rudy says because we want to advance our careers. That's true, but like that's implying that the only way to advance your career in science is to do things the traditional way, which like is not always going to be true. And it's not true, right? You just have to convince people that it's not true, right? And obviously that's harder. Obviously, what I did, got my PhD and then worked at NASA and left it all. Like that's really hard. It's been really hard to like find my own path and strive for things for myself and be taken seriously and all this stuff. Whereas if I would have just stayed working at some, Berkeley or Stanford or someplace like that, like everybody would take me serious. It wouldn't be like an issue. And it is way harder to break off and do stuff outside the system. But like that doesn't mean it can't be done. That doesn't mean you can't advance your career. Like obviously it's way harder, but like it can be done. And just need people who are willing to take those risks.
Yeah. And I think that's the nice thing about like building parallel systems. If you build a system that people can be like, okay, the risk is smaller, so I'll jump to here and go and go and go. Yeah.
So what is the way forward? That's a good question. I really like that question. It's a tough one, right? It's hard to be somebody who thinks different in society. I'm sure as David and Daria can attest to. It's really hard. It's hard to get people to take you seriously. It's hard to get, it's hard. But I think I wouldn't want it any other way. Sometimes I get pissed that it's just like not easier and my life isn't more simple. But I can't do anything else. Even if I tried, it's just not who I am as a person. So just keep doing you, and like things will eventually work out. Just keep that mind.
Yeah. And I think, some of it is also like, there's a certain amount of like internal honesty that you want in your life. And it would be I think it would be more upsetting to feel like I was being disingenuous all the time.
Yeah. It'd be harder to live.
Yeah. Like, I think I would build up a lot of self-resentment if it was like I'm just full of shit all the time.
Yeah. I would try to build a career without getting my master's, my PhD and stuff like that, and still want to be treated, as others are treated. Those who have degrees. Doesn't make me stupid, doesn't make me, sometimes people will put you above just because you don't have a degree or you're not from a prestigious university or blah 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 blah. So many people always try to categorize, so they want you to collect as many achievements as there can be so you can be like on the level. So there is already this like social injustice system, and what we can do is well, try to learn your skills and try to apply for a job. Some, I don't know, biotech company, whatever, even though you don't have an undergrad, just be like a lab assistant or something. Learn the skill of pipetting and doing stuff like that. And, try to make your way up. And I feel like it can be done, but people are just too afraid to do that. I feel like uh, if you're passionate enough, people will want you, because they'll actually be like, oh, this person does not have a degree and they know this and they want to do this. I wonder if we have if we give them the basis, how big they will become. And this is one of the ways we can disrupt the system. You can try to infiltrate the field and make it play with your own rules.
Ways nowadays to have non-traditional careers, like it's like Patreon. We all have Patreons, and I write and put stuff on Substack, and you can post videos on YouTube, and there's so many ways nowadays to have non-traditional careers that you can.
That's what I was gonna say. A lot of times it's not even necessarily about applying for a job. It's about like sometimes you can make your own job, or you can making your work valuable to others who then pay you for your work is like a problem you can solve. It's like just use creative problem solving skills and then solve it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just,
I'm sorry, someone said that you should go back to NASA and you will make a bigger difference that way. You just have a minute of laughter.
That person is just like
trolling at this point.
Yeah, they're just they have no idea about anything that they just said. They have no idea what it's like to work at NASA, and the fact that they think I would make a bigger difference if I still work there than not work there, like, again, go look at my Wikipedia page.
Flexing. Oh gosh. Not naked HD fun right. Best adult dating sites.
I'm just getting spammed by a bot now. Lovely.
Yay, anyway, we made it.
So we're
time to wrap up.
Yeah.
The bots have found us. We got to run.
Yeah. Well, we've been here. Sorry, people who have questions and stuff like that. We're wrapping up. We've been streaming for like 2 hours, but we'll be back next week. Same time, same place, probably. Yeah, so come join us. We really appreciate everybody coming and asking questions and letting us rant about science and scientists destroying science.
Prepare the memes and anecdotes for next time, please.
Yeah. More memes. Send us memes.
Yes.
Send us all your great memes.
We demand memes.
We'll show them on the next stream.
So far behind on the memes.
Thanks for coming, Rudy. Thanks, everybody, for coming, Robin, and everybody else. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Cheers.
We'll see you next week.